Hi guys, I'm Danny and I'm going to take you through my Sun C. If you have some blocks nearby, because we'll be using them for some of the poses today. Okay, if you'd like to join me on our mats, we're going to start in the last downward dog from your Sun B. So in downward dog, your hands are shoulder width apart, index fingers are parallel and pointing to the top of the mat. Feet are hip width apart and are pushing into the mat. Wrapping your biceps, so twist them in, suck in your core, push those shoulders away from your ears. And we're just going to inhale here, exhale, one more, inhale, exhale, come onto your toes, bend your knees on the inhale. We're just going to step to the top of our mat into a half lift. So in your half lift, you want your spine to be long here. So you're going to elongate through your spine by pulling the crown of your head forward. Your back is flat. If you want to, use your blocks here if that feels better. Push into those hands. Push your toes into the floor and feel your hamstrings stretch. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to fold forward here. Bend your knees. Look to your navel. Push into those fingers to create space into your lower back. So you're elongating the spine at the bottom of your back. Inhale, you're going to come up to a chair pose. So you're going to send your hips back. Send the weight into your heels so you can lift your toes here. Arms are going to go high above your head, sucking your core. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. You want to inhale, and then on the exhale, we're going to sink a little bit lower. Inhale, exhale, a little bit lower. Inhale, exhale. On that third one, you're going to come into half chair. You want your torso parallel with the ground. Send those hips back still, and you're just going to interlace your fingers and push away. Look down. For 3 breaths here. 2 more, inhale. Last one, inhale. Exhale. On the exhale, you're going to plant your hands down and wiggle your feet to the side of your mat as we prepare for Malasana. So you want your toes pointing at a 45-degree angle out to the side of the mat. You can sit on a block here if that feels comfortable for you. Drop your bottom to the floor. Put your elbows to heart center and just push your elbows into your knees. Straight spine here, so make sure you're elongating through the top of your head. Push those knees out with your elbows just to really open those hips. Sit straight, inhale here. And exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Now, if that feels good, stay here. If you'd like to join me as we prepare for crow pose. Now let's remove the block. We're going to keep our feet hip width apart. We're going to place our hands down so they're shoulder width apart. You want to really press into the floor here with your hands, particularly your fingers, to grip that mat. Make sure your index fingers are parallel still and pointing to the top of the mat. And what we're going to do here is try and get our knees as high as we can up the top of our arms, almost under our armpit. So we rest, we pull your feet in slightly if that helps. You want your knees, come onto your toes, those knees under your armpits. We're going to send the weight forward. You can either stay here and lift one leg, lift the other leg, or you can try and lift 2 legs as you gaze forward. Stay here for 3. 1, 2, 3. Come down. As you come down, we're going to go a step back into tabletop as we prepare for the first option of chaturanga. So to start, we're going to do knees, chest and chin. So you want your knees hip width apart. You want your arms under your shoulders And for this round, we want an anterior tilt in our pelvis. So we push our belly down to the floor and we tip our pelvis towards the ceiling, so you get a curve in the bottom of your spine here. You want to send your hips slightly forwards, they're a little bit ahead of your knees. Wrap your arms in, so the crease of your arm is pointing to the top of the mat. And we're going to lower down, so we just lower our chest and our chin to the ground, and we keep our hips high. As we lower down with control, you want to hug your arms into your rib cage. So we inhale, we lower down our chest and our chin and keep those hips high. And when we exhale, we send our feet out and flat to the floor. We're going to come into Sphinx pose now. So you want to pull your, shift your arms forward. So you want your elbows under your shoulders. You want your forearms, I'm just going to wriggle a bit further down my mat. You want your forearms planted onto the mat, your hands planted onto the mat. And it's really important that you're going to protect your lower back here. So we want to switch on our leg muscles, press the tops of your heels, tops of your feet into the floor, switch on your glutes and your thighs. You want to press your hip bones into the floor here, so that's really protecting that lower back, and we're not crunching into the lower back. And we're just going to inhale here, we're going to lift up, we're going to pull our shoulder blades together, send your chest forward. You can gaze forward and look up if that feels good. If it feels okay for your neck, you can just tilt your neck back and look up to the sky. Enjoy that chest opener. Inhale. On the exhale, and turn our toes over. We're going to place our hands under our shoulders and we're going to push back into downward dog. We're going to take a few breaths here. Inhale. Pedal out those feet if that feels good. You want an extra stretch in those hamstrings. Inhale. Lift your right knee to your nose. We're going to send our weight forward, round our shoulders as we step that right foot through as we go into warrior one. So warrior one, our feet are on parallel lines, so you want a gap between your heels. Your front foot is pointing forward, your back foot is at a 45-degree angle and is planted on the floor. You want to sink into that front leg, so your knee is over your right knee is over your right ankle. Hips are closed and they're pointing to the top of the mat. Back leg is pressed into the floor. Your thighs are switched on and are pulling towards each other here. We're going to inhale, lift our arms up here, and exhale. One more. Inhale, lengthen through the crown of your head. On the exhale, we're going to move our back foot across as we're going to warrior two. So our heels are now on the same line and our hips are pointing to the side of the mat. You've still got that right angle on your front leg, so your knee is over your front ankle. Arms go high, stretch through the fingers, so you've got a long line running through your arms. Look over your front fingers as you inhale and exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. On the exhale, you're going to straighten that front leg. You're going to reach forward with those fingers as you tip down. Grab a block here if you need. Place it next to your foot as we go into a triangle pose. Push through your arm. Don't slump into this pose. Really push through. Reach through your fingers. You can gaze forward. You can gaze up, whatever feels best for you. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. So inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. As we prepare, we're going to close our hips. So you want our feet now on two separate lines. And we're just going to hold here for pyramid pose. Lengthen through that spine, so we're not rounding with our top back. You're pulling the crown of your head forward. Inhale. And exhale. On the exhale, our left arm comes down to the floor. Press into your block here. You're going to make sure that your back foot stays grounded onto the floor. Front leg is straight, feet are gripping, and we're just going to twist from the torso, so not the hips. The hips remain closed and pointing to the top of the mat. We're going to lead with that left elbow, and we're just going to twist here, push into the ground. Inhale and exhale. As we exhale, we drop our hands, we move our block, we bend our right knee forward as we go into a side angle pose. So for side angle pose, you want your front foot pointing forward. You might want to step your back foot further back as we just lengthen the stance. You want your feet on one line, so your hips are now open, pointing to the side of the mat. You're going to make sure that your knee is over that front ankle and your thighs are switched on and they're pulling towards each other. You can either come down to your front leg here and rest your right elbow on your right leg. You can use a block here if that feels good, or place your hand down on the floor and push in. As we open up with the left arm, we look up to that thumb. Again, we're going to push out, so we're not slumping down here. We want one long line here. So we look up to that thumb, squeeze with the toes. Inhale, exhale. One more, inhale, exhale. On the exhale, we put our hands either side of our feet. We turn our back foot so our feet are now on two separate lines, and we prepare for crescent lunge here. So you want that right angle in your front leg, your right knee over your left knee, your back leg is, your back heel is lifted. Our hips are closed, pointing to the top of the mat. Shoulders are dropped, and we rise up here with our arms for the inhale. On the exhale, we're going to drop our back leg, so our left knee goes down to the floor. Our hands come to heart center, and we're just going to twist from that torso again, so the hips remain pointing to the top of the mat. Your left arm, your left elbow, is going to twist over your right leg, and it's going to connect with the outside of your right knee. So you push with both, so you've got resistance here, pushing against each other, and we just look back over our left shoulder, our right shoulder. Inhale and exhale. So we exhale, we plant our hands down next to our foot. Our leg comes back to tabletop as we prepare for the second variation of chaturanga. So this time we're going to do low push-ups. So this time our pelvis, instead of that anterior tilts, we're tipping our pelvis to the ceiling. We slightly suck it under here, so you're pulling in your core, you're pulling your navel to your spine, and you're pulling your pelvis under. Hips go slightly forward again. Spine is long, so you're lifting with the crown of your head. Rotate your arms so the crease is pointing to the top of the mat. Index fingers are parallel and pointing towards the top of the mat. Suck in under that tailbone, and this time we're going to lengthen down, lower down, with control in one long line. And when we get to that 45-degree angle, we're just going to hover here and then push back up. We're going to do that 2 more times. So suck in that core, hover, and push back up. Last time we're going to hover, and then we're going to go all the way down to the floor as we prepare for cobra. So for cobra, we want our hands under our shoulders. We're going to activate those legs again, so the tops of our feet are pushing into the mat. Our thigh muscles are switched on, glutes are switched on, hip bones are pushing into the ground. As we come up, we're going to pull our shoulder blades towards each other. We're going to lengthen our chest as we push our chest through, as we send our heart forward, and we're just going to have a bend in the arm here. You can either gaze forward or look up, whatever feels good for you. Inhale, exhale, just going to go through to tabletop as we prepare for pincher. So for pincher, we want our hands to be, our forearms and our hands to be planted. Down dog. Okay, we pinch out. Our hands, forearms and hands planted on the floor. We want our, if we grab our elbows and just make sure that we've got our arms set at the right distance, and then we plant our forearms and our hands on the floor. Now, we are going to turn on our shoulders here. It's all about using those shoulders, pushing them away from the ears. Suck in your core and keep that core switched on from the whole time, because that's really going to help you. So we can either walk our feet forward here into a downward dog position and stay here for 10 breaths, or you can join me in a low plank. So you want a long spine here, lengthen through the crown of your head, push that weight slightly forward here so your shoulders are over your elbows, and we're going to stay here for 10 breaths. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We drop back to tabletop. I'm just going to push back here and have a nice stretch as we go into child's pose. Stretch out those arms and the top of your back. A few more breaths here. And then we're going to go into a high plank from here. So we're going to, as we prepare for our final chaturanga, which is a full chaturanga. So this time, do option 1 or 2 if that feels good for you. Stick with that. If you're going to do a full chaturanga, then follow me. So we're going to have our wrists under our shoulders. Shoulders are switched on and they're away from the ears. We're going to send our weight slightly forward here, and we're going to do the same motion as before. So as we lower our whole body down, we're going to hover when we get to that 90-degree angle. Turn over your toes, push up as we go into up dog. So the only thing connecting with the floor should be the top of your feet. Your shoulders pulling back and towards each other. Your chest is pushing through, your heart is pushing through. And we're going to gaze up here. Inhale, exhale. We're going to send ourselves back to downward dog here for our last downward dog. We're going to inhale, walk our hands back. Exhale. We can grab our big toes here as we just hang here. Really stretch out that back and those hamstrings. Let your head hang low. And then on the inhale, we're going to rise up, Samasthiti.